Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again, and we're going to go back to the state of Oregon, which as we know is a very good beer state. Unfortunately though, we don't get too many Oregon beers over here in Europe. Most of the American stuff we get tends to be from like California, Colorado, the big beer states, along with different things from the East Coast, and I guess Michigan to some degree as well. It's a lot easier for me actually to get the West Coast American beers when I go over to Japan. So you will see some of these when I'm in Japan over Christmas time, of course. But for this review, we're going to go back and review another beer from probably the best known Oregon craft beer brand, at least over here in Europe. And it's been a good 5 years or something like that since I last had a beer from this brewery. But I think this one will be really quite interesting. For this review then, we are going to go to Ashland in Southern Oregon, and we're having a taste of only my second beer from Rogue Ale. So this one is called Coast Haste, and it's a hazy Imperial IPA coming in at 8.6% ABV. The interesting thing about this beer is that it uses hops from Rogue Ale's own farm, which is in Independence in Oregon, and it's about 70 miles away I think from their Ashland brewery, so it's in Southern Oregon if I remember correctly. But this one should be very nice. This one was released in Sweden on the 21st or 22nd of November 2019 through the Tillfällig Sortiment, or Små Partiers as it was previously called. So quite cool that we were able to get something quite this random from Rogue Ales, and this was only my second review of Rogue on the channel. The last one that I did was the Yellow Snow IPA back, that must be within the first 100 videos or something that I did, and to be honest with you, I probably picked that beer just because I thought the name of it was quite funny. But I remember it being quite nice, and as I say, Rogue Ales have a pretty damn good reputation, so hopefully this is another very interesting beer. Cool to return to them after such a long time, and as always I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this particular beer. So yeah, let's get on with it. So as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Rogue Ales before. Hopefully I can add some more in the fairly near future. I definitely won't be 5 years before I add another one. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist to beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Rogue Ales then, on to my brewery notes. So Rogue Ales, as I mentioned to you earlier, are based in Ashland in Southern Oregon, and they were founded back in 1988 by 3 Nike executives. This was Jack Joyce, Rob Strasser and Bob Woodall. So the 3 were approached by Jeff Schultz, who was an avid home brewer but was also working as Wood Ale's accountant at the time, and he approached them with this idea of opening up a brew pub, and they all liked it, so they decided to get together, draw up a business plan and go for it. So they began building a brewery in June of 1988 along the Lithia Creek in Ashland, and it was there that they installed a 10 BBL system and also started up a 60-seat pub, which opened in October of 1988. So the success of this brewery led the company to look at expansion potential, and so in 1989 Jack Joyce travelled to Newport, which is on the kind of northwest coast if you like. It's a little bit it's west of Eugene obviously, and just a little bit further north, but he went there to look for a location for a second pub. But while doing this, he got caught in a really bad snowstorm and got stuck, but he was taken in by Mojave Niemi, who is the founder of the famous Moe's Clam Chowder, and she gave him a hot meal while he was telling her what he was actually doing in Newport. And as luck would have it, Mo owned a suitable location for this new pub and brewery and sold it to the company for a very reasonable price on a few conditions. One of these was that Rogue would give back to the local community, as in feeding the fishermen as it was called, and also that they would hang a picture of Mo naked in the bathtub in their new brew pub, which apparently is still there to this day. This particular location of course is known as the Front and Case building, and later that year in 1989 still, John Mayer joined the company, having previously previously been a head brewer, or one of the brewers rather, at Alaskan Brewing Company up in, I think they're in Anchorage if I remember correctly, and he'd also worked on the F-15 fighter plane as well. But this pub that they were working on in Newport opened up in May of 1989. Over the following years though, they continued to expand, and today they now have a total of 11 different locations, most of which are still in Oregon, but they've also got one up in Washington, and for a period they also had a pub down in San Diego in California as well. They've got their own farms, one in Independence and one in Teague Valley in Oregon, where they produce their own hops. They've got barley, they've got rye, a few different vegetables. I'm sure it said they also had beehives and things like this as well, and they were growing jalapenos too, which I'm sure are quite interesting. I'm not very much into jalapenos myself, but anyway, some people are. Rogue are also now distilling whiskey and gin in their distillery, and they've also got the Rolling Thunder barrel cooperage, which opened back in 2015, and this was after they acquired some Second World War era coopering equipment, and it was their long-term employee Nate Lindquist who trained to do this. He apparently spent 18 months training in the art of making these barrels and stuff like that. So this has also helped Rogue make a lot of their own barrels for experimenting with sour beers and of course aging their whiskies and gins and things like that too. They also have their own range of canned cocktails that you can check out as well, and some of them seem pretty interesting. Again, check out the brewery website if you're interested in that. Over the more recent years, or in the last couple of years, there's been a bit of a change in the kind of structure of the company and stuff like this, with new executives and stuff like that coming in. So Jack's son Brett took over the company, the presidency of the company in 2005, and his dad, I think, died a few years after that. He left this role in 2018 to pass it on to Dharma Tam, who had a long experience of working with AB InBev's high-end craft division before joining Rogue back in 2017. John Mayer, of course, as well, retired as head brewmaster I should say, in 2019 after 30 years at the helm, and he was succeeded by Joel Shields, who'd been working under him for about 10 years. And as of November 2019, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced a total of 525 different beers, which is just shy of about 20 different beers per year if my memory serves correctly. So they're not the most prolific of breweries, but I think the focus for these guys is more on kind of perfecting recipes and things like that, which is pretty cool. But like I told you at the start of the video, these guys are probably the best known Oregon craft beer brand, at least over here in Europe. I've seen they're quite easy to get a hold of in Japan, so hopefully I can review a few more Rogue beers for you when I'm over there. But the West Coast beers do tend to be a little bit easier to get a hold of for me over there compared to over here in Europe. So always a good thing when I go over to Japan, as I go over there quite regularly. But yeah, as I say, definitely cool to return to these guys after quite some time, and probably the best known Oregon craft beer brand. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Rogue for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram if you're interested in that, and you can have a look at all the different beers that they've done on Rate Beer and Untappd as well. Those are very good resources when it comes to seeing all of these different things. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then and see how we get on. So yeah, lovely artwork on this one, I have to say. I like these sort of matted finishes that you get on some cans. It says on the back here, as farmers and brewers, we understand the importance of fresh ingredients. That's why our favourite time of year is harvest time, when the ingredients are their freshest and beer is just begging to be brewed. To make this beer, we cut down fresh Rogue Farm hops, load them into a truck and rush them post-haste over to our brewery on the coast. When the hops arrive, they go straight into the brew, still wet from the farm. The effort pays off with this hazy, fruity, wet hop-laden Imperial IPA. I'm sure that I read somewhere that it was Centennial, their own Centennial hops that they were putting in this one. Yeah, you know, it should be quite nice, this. But I do like the artwork on this. The Rogue art, I remember, was always kind of quite attractive, and the Rogue symbol, if you like, is that sort of star that's in the middle of the O there. I don't know if there's not really much else to show you on the can there. But yeah, this is 1 American pint, which in real people measurements, because the American liquid measurement system I always say does not make sense, that is 473 millilitres. So yeah, let's get this guy out then, and we will get on with the tasting. Like I said to you at the start of the video too, this one was released as part of the Tillfällig assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden on the 21st or 22nd, I forget exactly, of November 2019. The canned date on this one, incidentally, is also, it was the 26th of September 2019. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the last batches that they brewed, and they did that so that they could send it over here and have it in good condition. It will be about 6-7 weeks old at the point that I'm reviewing this one for you, something like that. So yeah, it should still be in fairly good condition. That's one of the problems we get with some of these imported beers, and I've chewed a few of the importers on the channel here before into Sweden because of the condition that some of these have come in. So hopefully this one is one that bucks the trend in that way. So yeah, as you can see, this beer is basically one of these ones that looks a little bit like barley and oat soup, as my Swedish friend Kalle likes to say. This one is as hazy as you're going to get. Look at that. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see there's very little transparency to this beer. There was a solid kind of quarter finger of a frothy white head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head. But you know, overall, this beer looks pretty much exactly as you would expect from a New England IPA or a hazy IPA, however you want to term it. But definitely leans towards the yellowy end of the spectrum, and I would say this one looks a little bit like a kind of peach pineapple juice, something like that. Definitely more of a yellow hazy New England sort of IPA rather than anything else. I don't know how West Coasters in America feel about these hazy IPAs being called New England IPAs, because yeah, as far as I know, with the likes of Alchemist and Hill Farmstead and Treehouse Trillium, Bissell Brothers I guess as well, these are, you know, that's where this whole haze craze kind of started, if you like. But let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on with this one. Yeah, oh, that smells really nice. Yeah, you'll notice with this beer, it comes across, the malt base really jumps out of this one for me as well. First impressions of this beer are that it's mainly sort of lemony, maybe a little touch limey as well. So, you know, Equinox could be another thing that's in there. But like I said, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that it was Centennial hops that's in this, and those are known for their big lemony, kind of lemon sherbety qualities. But yeah, you'll get that lovely big juicy kind of quality out of this beer as well. But yeah, straight away with this one you're going to get a big sort of floral, it's not quite spicy, but it's got a good bit of that floral kind of zestiness to it. You pick that out straight away. Definitely some light grassiness there too, although I would say the green side of the hops is leaning more towards that floral end of the spectrum rather than being more grassy. But yeah, lovely kind of lemony notes coming out of this. I want to say there's a bit of tropical fruit in there as well, maybe like a little bit of a pineapple-y, mango-y type thing behind that also, but the fruits, maybe a bit of papaya too in fairness, but I think the fruits do have a little bit of a lemony, limey quality in this beer. The malt base comes across really nicely too. You can definitely pick up a lot of kind of creamy oats in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of dextrose or dextrin, something like that in this one. Some of these kind of brewing sugars that can be put in to give you that little bit of extra creaminess. Some white bready, wheaty notes as well, and maybe just a little touch of a biscuity note. But in terms of the malt base, this one really leans towards that kind of smooth, creamy sort of thing, I have to say. So yeah, it's quite a creamy smelling IPA. Good bit of grassy floral note, and then a sort of lemon, limey kind of zest coming out of this one. More lemony than lime, right enough, but a bit of tropical fruit as well. So yeah, a really interesting smelling IPA, this one. So take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of this before you get stuck in. But I have to say that you smell this one as soon as you open up the can. It comes across with a little bit of a punch, if you like. So yeah, take a bit of time to enjoy that, but let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Coast Haste Imperial Hazy IPA at 8.6%. with Rogue's Own hops from Independence in Oregon, from Rogue Ales in Ashland in Southern Oregon over in America. Let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål. Oh yeah, that's still in pretty damn good condition, I have to say. So yeah, it's Wicked Wine. Is it Wicked Wines? Yeah, Wicked Wines that brought this one in. So like I said, you know, some of these American beers that we've had in the Tilfällig assortment and the small parties, they've been a little bit disappointing because I think they just haven't been conditioned right. But I've noticed that the importers are actually, they really are up in their game to them. So I don't know if they've heard me complaining or if they've been picked up on it by Systembolaget themselves. But yeah, I have to say, you have to say the importers, they do seem to be getting their act together and getting the beers out there a little bit fresher, if you like. So well done to them for that. This one is still in really nice condition. At this point in time, like I say, this is about 7, maybe 8 weeks old, something like that. And of course, yeah, in fairness, when you can these beers and bottle them and stuff like that, you do have to give them a bit of time to mature before they're actually ready for sale. So that's another thing to think about, but you've still got to condition them at the right temperatures and stuff like that. But yeah, this beer is in very nice condition. If you get the chance to try this one, have a go at it. If you like this New England IPA style and you like them to be a little bit more kind of floral and bitey, then this is one that you are really going to enjoy. I mean, I've been reviewing some of the kind of pinnacle benchmark, I guess, New England IPAs recently, the likes of Trillium and Treehouse and stuff like this. This one has a little bit of the smoothness you'd expect from a Treehouse beer, but it's got a little bit more of the bite that you would want, the kind of hoppy bite that you would get from the likes of Trillium. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you try this one, actually. So yeah, let's try and break the flavour of this one down then. So middle of your palate, you can feel a nice little bit of that kind of wheaty, white bready thing. That blankets the middle of your tongue. And it's very smooth and very light, actually. The malt base has that, the smoothness actually takes you to the point where it's almost slightly sweet. So when you move further into the centre of your palate, you've got a little bit of a, you do get more of the oaty creaminess, but I would suspect that there is probably a little bit of a kind of dextrosy, dextrin kind of sugar thing going on here, and that's probably smoothing out a little bit the wheat. You can feel the wheat kind of punching its way out a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste, but overall it is really nice how that goes together. I do like that about this this particular beer. Yeah, that's good. If you get the chance to try this, definitely do it. It is worth it. I think, I'm trying to remember what I paid for this beer. Was it about 60 crowns, 50 crowns, something like that? So yeah, about £4 UK, about €5 or something like this. But yeah, definitely worth it, I have to say. So yeah, the middle of your palate is really nice in this one. Interestingly, this is one of the few New England IPAs where I'm not getting that much of a biscuity quality. I mean, I've always said with these beers, and it's mainly with my experience of brewski here in Skåne in the south of Sweden, when you go above 8% with these, it's a little bit difficult to cover up the alcohol unless you put in, like, unless you put in a little bit of like biscuit malt or something like that. But this one is 8.6, and you can feel it's a little bit heavier, but you don't taste the booziness on the tongue, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, you don't really get that little bit of biscuitiness that you sometimes get from these higher alcohol New England IPAs. This one really is very, very smooth in its malt base, so kudos to Rogue Ales for that. The way the malt base comes across in this one, it's very simple, but it really is very nice at the same time. So yeah, white bready, wheaty kind of thing. It punches its way out a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste, but I think there is a bit of dextrose or dextrin or something just smoothing it out, and then in the middle of your palate you've got a little bit more of a kind of oaty creaminess. On the sides of the tongue then, on the hoppy side of the beer, back corners of the palate, there is a little bit of earthiness there, and it's quite minimal actually. It's quite a sweet, smooth earthiness, but as you come further forward along the sides of your tongue, you get a little bit more of a kind of floral aromaticity out of this one. It's got, I wouldn't say it's spicy, it's just got a little bit of zestiness to it, but round the very front curve of the palate, the beer is a little bit lighter and more grassy actually, which is nice. So I really like how that goes together. But yeah, this beer, the fruity side of this beer is also really nice. This is definitely one of these New England IPAs that just has a little bit of a kind of citrusy bite to it. So as I always say, the fruity side of the hops is going to come out in that little oily bubble behind the front curve of your palate. And if you go to the back of that, you can get some of those kind of citrusy lemons. It almost gives the impression of it being a little bit passion fruity or something like that. There is a little bit of that darker note there, and as you move further forward, you might get a little bit of a kind of mango-y sort of papaya type thing out of this one. I'm not sure it's quite smooth enough to be like apricot or pineapple, but I can see why some people might think it would be. So yeah, a little bit of passion fruit, a little bit of a kind of mango-y, yeah, definitely a little bit of a, yeah, I want to say a bit of mango in there. There's definitely a little bit of that, but then as you come towards the tip of the tongue, it's very sort of lemony and citrusy. I mean, as I say, I'm sure that I read Centennial was in this one, and this beer is very lemony, maybe very slightly limey as well. And of course, if you want lime flavours, you would use either Malteki from New Zealand, or you could use Equinox from America. So yeah, it's a really nice kind of sort of lemony, citrusy IPA. It's not like sour or anything like that, but it's definitely got a little bit of that zesty kind of bite that you would expect from that fruit. So yeah, this one, it really is nice. It hits the spot for me in quite a few ways. Very fruity wise, definitely quite citrusy, but it does have a few elements of kind of tropical notes there as well, and that kind of plays in with the sort of creaminess you're getting out of this this base too, the malt base in this one too. So it gets a thumbs up from me. This, I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this this beer again. So if you get the chance to try this one, have a go at it. It's one of these ones where everything just fits together quite nicely. Actually, it's got a little bit of a kind of Trillium vibe to it, but a little bit of the kind of treehouse smoothness in the malt base. I would say that's probably a fair kind of summary of this one, if you like. In terms of the mouthfeel then, top end of mid-bodied this, definitely a mid-bodied beer. Carbonation is very smooth. It's got an element of oiliness to the mouthfeel, but at the same time, it's got a bit of a creamy backbone. I'd say it gets a little bit more oily the more and more you drink of it. In terms of IBUs, this one does have a little bit of bite to it. I think it's about, what could it be? It must be about, it's at least 40. It could maybe be pushing 50, but something makes me want to say it's about 40 IBUs. So yeah, about 40 IBUs with this one, maybe pushing a little bit higher than that. In terms of the malt base, it's quite nice and sweet actually. It's very smooth, but it does give you a little degree of kind of sweetness, and it's mainly an oaty, kind of creamy sweetness you get out of this one actually. But you've also got some really nice juicy fruity notes that dry out a little bit on the tip of your tongue the further you go into the aftertaste as well. But overall, this is a really, really nice hazy IPA, and one that you definitely need to have a go at if you get the chance. So yeah, it's as I say, my first beer from Rogue Ales in a very long time, but it's certainly I've certainly been impressed with this one. Let's just say that. So yeah, kudos to Rogue Ales for this one, and definitely cool to return to Oregon on a nice high note like this. So yeah, let's just leave it at that for this beer. A really nice double hazy imperial IPA, whatever you want to call it, and a solid effort from Rogue Ales. Cool that it's their own hops that are in this too. I do suspect perhaps that it's Centennial, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is another hop in there as well actually, maybe a little bit of Citra or something like that. But a really nice take on this New England style, and definitely worth trying if you get the chance. So let's leave it at that for this one. The Coast Haste Imperial Hazy IPA at 8.6% from Rogue Ales in Ashland in Southern Oregon over in America. Really cool to review this one for you, and I'll definitely make sure to review some more Rogue Ales for you at some point fairly soon. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Rogue Ale. Do give me some other Oregon brewery recommendations, and hopefully I can review more of them for you here on the channel over the next little while. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Coast Haste from Rogue Ales in Ashland, Oregon, and over on the west coast in America. Slàinte, skål, cheers.